Is your goal to leave your W-2? Do you want to quit your 9-to-5 job? And is your business or your side hustle the vehicle that's going to make that happen? But perhaps it seems unclear, perhaps a little bit overwhelming. Maybe you're curious how much money you'll actually need to make that leap, or how are you even going to achieve this? Where do you begin? If that sounds familiar, I got you. In today's video, we're going to go over how much revenue you need to leave your 9-to-5 to quit that W-2 job, how to know when the right time is to quit the job, quit the stability. And then lastly, we're going to go over probably the most important part. How do you ensure that revenue goes into your personal account? But first, if you're new here, my name is Cheryl. My business partner, Katrina, and I help small business owners just like you put more of your revenue into your personal account so you can quit that 9-to-5, so you can leave that W-2 job. I was just at a Tony Robbins conference. We can talk about that another time. But he had this saying, fuzzy targets don't get hit. So the first step is to know what is a target. What type of personal, not business, personal revenue are you working towards? And if you're like, I don't freaking know, here's two places to start. If you currently have a 9-to-5 or a W-2 job, how much money do you make? Now, is that covering the bills? Barely? Or is it in abundance? So if it's just covering the bills, you know that's what you have to hit in your business side hustle. If it's in abundance, you have a choice to make. You can determine how much money you actually need to live and work towards creating that abundance in your business or side hustle. Or you can make that the target at replacing. But the key is to identify how much you need. Like, what is the goal? Personal, not business revenue. And then we're going to work backwards. Now that you know how much money you need to personally make for this business to work for you, so you can quit your 9-to-5 or your W-2 job, we have to reverse engineer that and see what that means in business revenue. So there's two ways to do it. One way is more accurate, more precise, but it requires having financial data about what your business has already done. And the second way is an easier, more of a guesstimate if you can follow the ideologies of the Profit First System, which is a book written by Mike Michalowicz. If you want to know more about this book written by Mike Michalowicz, we have a summary of it in our digital guidebook on how to handle the cash management. I'll leave that link down below if you want it. It comes with a whole bunch of other resources. Anyhow, so let's jump into the spreadsheet I use. Again, I'm going to put this spreadsheet in our Money Mastery ToolBox. You can get all of our resources, Money Mastery ToolBox, QuickBooks Confidence, pricing, our guidebook, all for like $24. So if that's something you're interested in, click the link down below. All right, I'm over here using a simple plug and play calculator. I actually think I'm going to clean this up and put it in the Money Mastery ToolBox. So if you want this calculator, again, that link's down below, but you can also create your own. So first, we need to determine, which we did in step one, how much do we personally want to take home from our business? So let's say our personal goal is $80,000. We know that. In this calculator, we only enter into the pink fields. The next thing we know, if we pull up our profit and loss statement, that we are operating at a 42% expense ratio, meaning our expenses have been on average 42% of our real revenue. If you don't know that figure, perhaps you're just starting out, you can use these profit first percentages, which are ideal, the goal. And down here, it has operating expense. Up here, tax, owner's pay, and profit. These are considered owner's contribution accounts, so we're going to ignore those. All right, so once again, we pulled up our profit and loss, and we determined that 42% of our revenue goes out the door for expenses. And we also know, here's another thing that we pull out from our COGS, we anticipate about $25,000 in the next 12 months will be used for COGS. So that's what's going to give us this real revenue. So what this calculator is doing is it's saying we want to make $80,000. So how much real revenue do we need to take home $80,000? And because 42% of our real revenue has been going back to the business for operating expense accounts, we need a real revenue of $137,931. And that is determined off of a revenue figure of $162,931 with $25,000 in COGS. Now, let's say your business doesn't have COGS. There's certainly online service providers who don't have any, so that doesn't apply. We would keep that at a 0. Let's pretend that we don't know our operating expense ratio, so we're going to go after the ideal percentages based off of the profit first strategy at 30%. And let's say we want to take home $75,000. That's our goal. That means we would need to have a revenue of $107,142. So what this is saying is 70% of this will come back to us in the form of owner's compensation. And then since we believe in the profit first strategy, we break that out between owner's pay, tax, and profit, but that's for another course. Once you know your revenue figure, this is where you can plan on what marketing plans do you need to align with that revenue figure, right? Do you see how we're just reverse engineering everything? We're going from the goal, we want to take home $75,000 a year. We are starting here at none, right? And how can we work towards that $75,000 a year? First, it's important to know what type of revenue your business has to generate so you personally can take home that $75,000 a year. Then we solve for how does my business generate that type of money? And once you're consistently and predictably generating the revenue that would align with your numbers, that's when you know it's pretty safe to quit your W-2 job or that 9-to-5. And lastly, it's great to know what your revenue generates, how much money you need to personally take to know those targets. It's another thing to put it into practice. You have to be extremely diligent about, 1, sticking to that expense ratio or improving upon it, and 2, moving the revenue into your personal account so you can actually take home the funds that are needed so you can confidently quit that 9-to-5. I hope this was helpful. I hope you saw that we cannot have a fuzzy target. Going back to that Tony Robbins quote, you cannot have a fuzzy target, and you can create the game plan once you know what you're aiming for. Once you know where you're going, we reverse engineer that and see what it means for your personal business and how much revenue you have to generate. And then you make the plans to put more of that revenue into your personal account. And if you're like, this sounds amazing, this sounds great, I would love to use some of your profit planning resources, some of your revenue calculators. I would love your guidebook so I could learn a little bit more about how to manage cash. We offer all of that for our Black Friday special of $24, which is quite frankly mind-blowing. And it also includes the course on how to master QuickBooks in bite-sized tutorials, so you'll actually do it. That entire link is down below. And with that, cheers to profit. I hope you have a wonderful day.